in the 1930s are widely mentioned in the media, in school, and in books. Whenever National Socialism is brought up, the book burnings are named as one of the main evils that were committed during that period. The book burnings have become a byword for state censorship in general. My main question regarding the way this event is presented is simply this: are book burnings inherently bad? Why is it put on such a pedestal? The official Holocaust Museum's own video on the topic starts off like this.
To burn books is simply a fundamental repression of ideas.
I mean, what can a book do, and why is it so dangerous that it needs to be physically annihilated?
If book burning or censorship is so unheard of and egregious, why did we ban 30,000 books in post-war Germany during denazification when the Nazis themselves only banned around 4,000? The event itself is constantly mentioned, but it's also always glossed over extremely quickly. Few stop to ask themselves, what books did the Nazis actually burn? This fairly simple question is rarely looked into. When asked, the answer is usually just Jewish books and they didn't like Jews, and then no further comment given. This is not good enough. It's time to actually look into what these books were and why they were burned and then banned. This is a very
Giving all praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai by Shem HaKodash. Send double honors to our apostles and elders. Her great millstone, peace and blessings to the Lord's hopefully elect.
He's a bell, he's a boy, he's bell.
strict.
Slacky. So the title of this video is The National Socialist Book Burnings, 1933, The Truth. So let's deal with this small piece of history. Because, you know, in history, you're told, in summary, Germans bad, Jews good. That's what you're told. But you're not allowed to question the narrative. You're not allowed to ask why this or why that. Because for the longest time, they controlled the narrative. These Edomites controlled the narrative. And they believed that that narrative will stick and last forever. Because the strength of the devil is his deception. And he believes that he can establish a kingdom, which this is what this kingdom established is. He thinks he can establish it upon lies. And that it'll last forever. The problem with that is you risk the truth coming out. And with the truth coming out, then your establishment then crumbles to the ground. But as the book of Obadiah says, his pride has deceived thee. So he honestly believed that he could lie for the end of days, and he can always have the truth concealed, and he can always control the narrative and put things in the law to put fear into people to go digging or to go look or to ask questions. But only now we're at the end, and the Lord is bringing forth the truth. And now you see they're losing more and more power each and every day because their strength is simply lies, secrecy, deception. And this is why in the end, he's just going to resort to the sword, because Esau Edom, he's not a diplomatic person. He's not a man of reason. He doesn't admit defeat. In the end, he's just going to revert to back to the sword, which is his go-to, right? And that's just how we know that the famine of the word is going to come, and that's how we know that eventually he's gonna come down to people with great wrath, because the truth is being established. The truth, so how did I say? The truth is being brought out. Therefore, the establishment is crumbling. And in the end, he's going to do what he does best. He's going to frame mischief by law. He's just going to put it in writing, and basically just say anybody who speaks the truth, you're worthy to be put to death. Eventually, you're going to get to the point to say anybody who calls himself an Israelite, you're liable to be put to death. You're anti-sin, whatever it is, because to call yourself an Israelite is a direct threat to them, because their lie is established that, no, I'm the Jew, but it's a lie. So you come and you say, no, I'm the Israelite. And I got proof. I got the Holy Spirit. I got the scriptures. I got knowledge. They're going to say unacceptable. So they know that they're losing when it comes to the battle of truth, the battle of spiritual, because they're not a spiritual man. So what are they going to resort to? Carnality. We know this. So he's going to explain exactly what was going on during that time that led up to what they call the book burning. It's a topic that they won't discuss to try to, because you can't go into the motives of the Germans. You can't look into maybe they was retaliating and that maybe they were defending themselves and trying to defend their honor and defend morals, and that they were the ones that were assaulted, and they out of a reaction responded as any nation would do if they felt that their country was under attack, the people was assaulted, their morals were being threatened. But because the devil has the power of deception, he's able to spin it and to just say like, no, really we were the good guys. But let's deal with just this one fact dealing with the books.
In modern-day Amsterdam, for example, this was the city. The most unusual culture arose in what some would call a modern-day Babylon. There was a street in Berlin purely filled with pregnant prostitutes, another with disfigured ones, acid scars, hunchbacks, you name it. Another was purely mother-daughter teams who would dress exactly alike. A lot of what went on in the city, many in the modern world would agree with. This aspect, most would find abhorrent. On a more acceptable level to our modern society, homosexuality was rife, and one famous Brit who emigrated called Berlin a bugger's paradise. Thousands turned up from all over Europe to the one city they felt their life would be accepted and even promoted. Drugs were widely available, mainly morphine, opium, and cocaine. Transgenderism saw the light of day. Magnus Hirschfeld, a homosexual scientist, founded his Institute of Sexual Research. Here, all moral laws of the past were out the window, and people were free to experiment with gender, bizarre sexual fetishes, or browse his collection of sex items he had on display at the Institute. He was known as the Einstein of sex, and the first occurrence of someone undergoing a full male-to-female gender reassignment surgery was done here. Berlin was essentially liberalism run wild. An important aspect to note is that many, or even most of the leading figures of this new liberal culture, and the liberal government at large at this time, were Jewish. I say this without...
So Berlin basically became Sodom and Gomorrah very quickly. And it became a place for homosexuals to fly all over to come in and feel safe, just like it is in America, just like it is in the land of Israel right now. Magnus Hirschfeld was the first sodomite who performed transgenderism and wrote a book about it. And they don't want you to know because guess what? He was a so-called not Israeli. But it's funny because you're such the victim and you people are always been on the run and you just been hated for no justifiable reason. That's the point, right? Nobody did. Oh, they just hated us, right? But why is it that you have to conceal the truth? If you're so proud of your history, why not say it? Why do you conceal the fact that the first transgenderism and homosexuality starts from you? You know, that book, the Talmud, is just a bunch of Amalekites. They call themselves rabbis. They basically write their own laws. That is why in their law, they allow what? They wrote down what? That it's okay for a man to have sex with a 3-year-old girl several times over, and to have sex with a boy as young as 2 years old. That's in their writing. Why is that? Because that's their true spirit, and they want to make it into law. They weren't inspired by the Most High. They were inspired by the devil. And this is why they try to conceal that information, because they know it's a shame. They know that deep down, their history, they have nothing to be proud of. And they know that the only thing that they really feel happy about is when they had us in slavery and they could do all manner of evil to us. So they know that deep down, when they look at their history, right, their favorite times in history was the Roman Empire and when they had us in slavery, because at that point they could slay and kill their brother Jacob, and they can do all manner of evil legally, like be open sodomites and things of that nature. They know that all their history points to them reverting to debauchery and wickedness and evil. They don't have anything to actually be proud of where people can actually look at them and say, these are respectable people. Like their history is good. They know they don't have it. That's why they have to what? Spin lies. And the lies is we're the victims. We're the victims. So this is how we establish our position on the earth, by lies and deception. And we're just the victims. And if you question anything, that just means you're just like the Germans. You hate us. And that worked for a while, but now it's at the end because their power is fading, because the truth is coming out. And when the truth comes out, your establishment based upon lies will crumble. Proverbs 12:19, the lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. And that's why the book of Obadiah says, thy pride has deceived thee, O Esau, because they knew that everything they doing was a complete lie. Everything they say or teach is a complete lie. But the pride in them honestly believed that they could control the narrative every day moving forward. So they'll put up museums, they'll make these videos, and they all know they're lying through their teeth, slandering history. Look, even the ADL, the foundation of the ADL goes back to Amalekite who had raped and killed a girl and tried to blame a black man, tried to blame an Israelite. He was convicted, and I think he was even put to death because he was trying to lie. But only years later, those devils tried to make him out to be a hero. And thus, that's where the whole ADL, Anti-Defamation League, that's why it was all established, to cover their tracks, to cover, because it can't go down in history. We can't be revealed in history. So everything in history that makes us look bad, we got to conceal it. The truth can't come out. But now the Lord has brought the truth out, because your entire establishment is based upon lies. And now it's coming to an end. Just go to the comment board. It's over, man. It's over. Just reading it. Nope. Look at like this guy. They will always tell you about the book burnings, but they never mention what kind of books they burn. No, you can't ask that, because if they actually told the truth, then you would sympathize with the so-called prosecutors or persecutors. You would say, well, it seems to me they were just trying to put an end to evil. That's why the lies have to be pushed. Another truth that they try to keep buried is the fact that the Atlantic slave trade, the involvement of the 1948ers during the Atlantic slave trade, and how it was funded by the 1948ers, and how 90% of those ships were owned by the 1948ers, and the auction blocks was all funded by them. But why isn't that taught? Simple. Because their goal is to paint to the world that they're the victims. And it's going to be hard to paint yourself as a victim when you are the persecutor of another people, of the real biblical Jews. That's why that's hidden. You see, those lies. But it's going to keep coming out. The victim mentality is over with. And Esau knows his power is fading. The Lord is putting the spirit on the truth to come out. Just simply the truth. The whole 9/11, all that is being brought out, man. Your lies don't work anymore. I saw a video today where they came on in the platform and they said it was really never about illegals. It was never about deporting illegals. They talking about it openly. They know that it's like, this is just a reason to put for everybody. Is happening. The truth. This is how you lose your power. This is how he's losing his power, by the truth. And this is how we know he's going to resort to violence, because this is his lies is all that he has. Just like one of the quotes from Somebody quoted in the past, you can look it up. He says, in the time where in a time where universal deceit is accepted, speaking the truth will be an act of war. That's the power of the truth. The power of the truth has the power to break down strongholds and crumble foundations. And that's why the Lord in the book of Obadiah, he said, thy pride has deceived thee. The Lord let you think that you had you had everything covered and that the truth would never come out. But now the Lord is just uplifting your skirt. Just like, do you know what would happen if the truth if they actually had a news platform? That's why the media is controlled. It all has to be controlled for a reason. Okay. You know what would happen if they actually sat up there and talked about just 2 or 3 controversial topics that you just know are lies? You know what would happen overnight? It'll crumble foundations. Say like the moon landing, for example. That never happened. But here we are over 50 years later. That's a topic that they don't want to bring up. But if you're so confident that it worked, that you did it, why is it that when that one Edomite was questioning Neil Armstrong and them, they took off running? Why is this not a topic? Why is this not allowed to be discussed? Because it would overthrow foundations. It would disqualify people's college degrees because people had to learn that crap about space and how fast would a pin drop on Earth versus space. It's on people's tests. Everything that these people taught, the whole NASA, okay, would have to crumble. That's how powerful the truth is. That you got topics that they run from. It can't be discussed. No, we won't talk about that. We won't talk about that. Because the truth will crumble it. Isaiah 16:5 says, and in mercy shall the throne be established, and he shall sit upon it in truth. And the tabernacle of David, judging and seeking judgment and hasting righteousness. So in the kingdom of heaven, the throne of David is going to be established upon truth. And the scriptures tell you this truth is the strongest thing on the earth. The truth threatens foundations. It threatens establishment. It threatens kingdoms. The fact that we call ourselves Israelite is a direct threat to these Amalekites who call themselves Jews. That's a direct threat. That's why we know in the end they're just going to resort to violence. Because they can't deal diplomat, they're just going to resort to violence. Because we're speaking the truth. And this is all that's needed to bring a society to its knees. That's all that's needed. And this is why people like Vocab, he's hiding. He's got his head in the sand. Because he thought he didn't think that the Lord would ever make a move on these Amalekites. Because he's a secret Amalekite. That's what I believe. Because Haman was an Agagite, which was an Amalekite. He's not gonna talk about. He's not gonna research like Maggot Hirschfield and what happened in Berlin and the transgender. He's not gonna talk about how it's in their book. Here, let me pull up the quotes. Here's their quotes in their book. You can go to it. All right, like it says that Sanhedrin 55b, it says a Jew may marry a 3-year-old girl. The Sanhedrin 54b, a Jew may have sex with a child as long as a child is less than 9 years old. The Kethuboth b, when a grown man has intercourse with a little girl, it is nothing. For when a girl is less than 3 years old, it is as one put fingers into the eye. And his breakdown on that, when you go into their description, is that she's going to keep getting her hymen back so you're not breaking any laws. This is what they teach, and that's what that whole book is about, is them writing down their fetishes, their true inward thoughts, their true inner self. And they know that it's corrupt. They know it's depravity. They know it's debauchery. That's why everywhere they go, they bring what? Homosexuality, transgenderism. Even abortions is permitted in that book of theirs, because this is just who they are. And they know that they are not the holy people, because here it is. This is their true inner beliefs. This is their true inner thoughts. But they're trying to proclaim themselves to be the holy people. Okay, they know that in the eyes of the world, that that's not gonna fly. That they're gonna say, you ain't the holy people. So they established the entire everything upon lies. They was able to hide this whole time from 1948 up until now. They were in hiding. They were able to conceal the true fetishes, the true beliefs. But now that we're at the end, the Lord is using their covetous, their insatiable greed for power, for the blessing of Jacob, to stage an attack, to attack people. But the spin-off about how, we're defending ourselves. Bad, Palestinians are bad, everybody needs to back us up. It's not working anymore. For now, the whole world can see truly who you are and who you always was. That's the thing. These Edomites were always like this. They just were able to hide. That's why the scripture says the mystery of iniquity. And he says, what? In the end, he shall be revealed. The Lord is he's literally just showing the world who Esau, Edom is, bare and naked. And just like rats, when the light comes, they squirm because they have nowhere else to hide. That is why simply speaking the truth will send them down the street. The truth. Okay? That's why the Lord said, in the end, the righteous man shall stand in great boldness. We equipped with the truth, nothing else. We don't need to lie. We don't need to slander. We don't need to, we don't need to do anything. We simply have the truth. And you are the seed of the wicked. You are the seed of the wicked. And vocab, you show up while the cops are coming, we gonna ask about these questions. I might make this a poster and just keep it in the back, just waiting for you, for you, specifically for you. If you was to show up, hey, I want you to deal with this. Might get a few posters made. How about that? Put you on the spot. You ain't ready for that. And all we're gonna say is was 1948 a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. See, if you want to get these rats to run down the street, you simply bring up prophecy and the truth. And this is how we know. In the end, this man is just going to resort to violence. He's not going to resort to being diplomatic. He's not going to resort to speaking. He can't. He's exposed. So he's just going to do what he does best. Write it in, put it in writing, and attack. This is what we're warning our people about, because the truth is being brought out. It's a direct threat to his establishment. It's a direct threat to this foundation, this bloody city of lies and robbery. For him to deal with that exposure, he's going to resort to violence. I'm sorry. The book of 2nd Esdras. Verse 27. For evil shall be put out and deceit shall be quenched. You say that? Deceit. It will be no more. Deception will be nothing. It will have no power. Your power is Esau's power is deception. So how do you take that power away? The truth. It says, as for faith, it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. This is how you know we're at the end of man society. This is how you know We have, this is how you know that this is all we need. We don't need to pick up swords. We don't need to try to prove we're tough. We don't need to make these provocative, how you say, titles to try to garner attention, to get attention from the Edomites. You want some attention, so you coming up with these ridiculous titles to garner attention because you want to be heard. You don't need that. You're simply equipped with the truth. You teach the truth, and you see this. You see, as Yahushua said, you move mountains. This mountain has been moved simply by the truth. This is our weapon. This is our strength. What don't Jake get about that? You ain't got to prove to them you tough. Cool. Hit them with the truth. That's how you get them to run down the street. What they say, an educated man they fear nothing more than what they say, an educated black man. Be an educated Israelite man or woman. And then when they see that the deception don't work, they got no power. They got no strength over you. They just know, yeah, we can't pull a fast one on him. And what happens when they can't do that? What happens when they get to the point where they no longer can fool the people with lies? I'll tell you what, they're going to resort to violence. That's why I said they're going to be sparing none. They look, we ain't trying to hear none of that. Okay? Yes, we've been outed. That's fine. But I got the power. I'm going to put it in writing, and we're going to come and kill. All right? But it says, the truth shall, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. And it's being declared now. Shalom.